let's say hypothetically, Trump is defeated, and even more hypothetically, he allows that to happen, and he goes away, and we've got the new White House, and it's Biden, and it's Kamala Harris. And so I don't think many environmental activists think, okay, the work is done, we're good now, we don't have to do anything. But let's say there's a war on all fronts, put pressure on them to do what's necessary. What are some of your expectations for what can be accomplished in the next few years?
Sure, quite a bit. Being in the climate decade means we're really clear that in 10 years time, in 2030, we need to have done a bunch of things. So in dinosaur time, which government usually works in, that means we had to have installed a government that will recognize this and start to build the infrastructure. So the Green New Deal, as sexy as people is, and as much as people wanna fight about it, is jobs, infrastructure, and human health. Guess what? We're gonna pay for all that stuff anyway, because the bridges are crumbling, people are sick, and nobody has a job. Look out the window. So it feels like, given that people even fighting that title, we still have to pay for that work. So on day one, the executive can get in and send a signal that we are no longer gonna continue funneling our money into coal, oil, and gas. The petrodollar has to die in order for the rest of us to live. And so who can send a signal better than that, than the executive? That means no more fossil fuel drilling on public lands, no more new leases, which is currently politically third rail. But guess what? The train ain't running, so we might as well talk about it. They could also signal to every single agency that has been retooled and turned into a chop shop for democracy that they can start working on this stuff, develop their own procurement plan so they're not buying into the fossil fuel company, lining their pockets by buying into the way that they work, and make sure every one of them has a mandate that is focusing on how we can reduce our emissions in real time. And all of that beyond like calling a special session, which would be my dream, is like calling a special session around what the heck are we gonna do on climate, and how do we mobilize everything that we have left in the government to get us to the place where we can argue later.
Yeah, there's like a million things that I want to say based on that. But yeah, I don't know if maybe this fits into what you were saying about the chop shop, but I saw when they announced that the methane regulations were going to be rolled back a couple weeks ago, the EPA put out a statement saying that industries were being choked by the regulations. And I thought, wait, isn't that what the industries are supposed to say? You're the EPA.
Yeah,
it's not your job.
Well, it used to be the EPA. A lot of really amazing people fled. And trust me, I had a whole list of things the EPA wasn't doing when it was working that I would have been uncomfortable about. But relative to all of that, turning a bunch of people who are scientists, who understand data, who listen to people, who connect information, who don't make their decisions based on how it will affect their friends, but how it will affect the outcomes that they hope for. Methane is on the table because we failed to deal with it when we could have. So that's the other sad thing, is that states have failed to regulate. I'm calling from Maryland, which has really done a vanguard job of failing to regulate on methane, between communities coming together to raise it. Folks mentioning that is pipeline leaking all over the place. That's all they do is leak fuel and leak air, leak gasoline and vapor. So if we knew this was coming, if in a moment where we're worried about emissions, and methane is the container that allows them to stay in the air long enough to cause all of our problems. We saw this coming 5 years ago. We could have done something about it 3 years ago. It continuing to be a problem is as much our problem in climate as it is not getting fossil fuels footprints out of this work. That way we could just do the work of democracy, which is making the best decisions for the largest number of people.
So I wish that we could talk for like the next 2 hours, but I'm gonna have to limit myself. So one last question, and this is something that I've started to worry about. So we've had the past couple of years where seemingly to a level that I haven't seen since like An Inconvenient Truth came out, like front and center conversation about climate change is happening pretty regularly. And I credit that to groups like Sunrise Movement and AOC and others. And so that's been great. During the pandemic, talk about climate change has receded quite a bit, seemingly. But what has happened is we've had an experiment as a country where the question is, how much are we going to band together to stop an emergency? And in comparison to virtually every other country in the world, we have done a horrible job. And so as you've seen that, does that inform your views of what the American people will accept in terms of what needs to be done to stop the next emergency, the climate emergency?
No, I actually think we've seen more climate people in the streets than you can imagine. Because most of us are progressives, because most of us are people who just don't want to see other people die needlessly and aimlessly. I would say that KXL, no DAPL really sparked the flames. It made people remember that civil unrest doesn't just happen in history and beautiful glossy photographs in the museum. And so people started recognizing that you could get right into the street and that you don't need an invitation. All of that work seeded the movement for Black Lives and a real support for climate folks stepping in to be able to be supportive. I mean, heck, witches and everybody else have been involved in getting into this conversation around how do we show up for people. So I would say that I think the baton is being passed from issue to issue, which actually gives me hope that enough of us are running in the right direction so that we can push the decision makers. Leaders know what they're doing. People all over the place are really clear on what's happening. It's decision makers that we need to push, and nothing motivates them like a mobilization. So it is actually heartening to me to see that having a conversation about divesting from fossil fuels lines up so nicely with defunding the police that we might actually move money into stuff that matters to people. So I am in fact seeing a trend that suggests that suppression of people is ramping up, but so are people willing to get into the streets. So it used to be a conversation about why the youth weren't involved. Now the youth are deeply involved, and the multi-generational group of people who was always there yelling that this was important are there to support them because wisdom needs energy and energy needs wisdom. So I'm feeling pretty good, not because it's all going well, but because for once as a Black woman, I'm not in this ditch alone.
Wow, okay. It's giving me a lot to think about. Okay, interesting. And a semi-positive note considering how horrible this entire year has been.
Oh man, it's been so bad that I have nothing to say about it.
Yeah, okay. I think everybody knows what we're thinking. Tamara, it's just been great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us, and very excited to see what you and 350.org and all the other organizations are capable of over the next few years.
Yeah, I hope to see you in the streets. It's gonna take all of us. Thank you.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.